too much poetry is written about sensationally wonderful things that don't need to have poems written about them. You know, nightingales, larks, you know, grand cities. Let's value stuff that is often neglected.
For Peter Thomas, CPD trainer and passionate champion of poetry, even the lowliest of objects can lead to verse.
I am the ring from an empty cola can, the scrapings from an unwashed porridge pan, the severed arm of last year's action man.
Inspired by poet Trevor Millam's Sad I Ams and Glad I Ams poems, Peter hopes to inspire teachers to look beyond the obvious when teaching poetry.
And Trevor's point is that perhaps we ought to get kids to think about what the rest of the world calls rubbish. Trevor Millam wrote the Sad I Ams as examples of how something humble, neglected or rejected can be given a higher status by making it appear, just for a moment, something with a history, something with a significance. The toothless stapler, springless bulldog clip, the dried-up liquid paper that mars instead of mends, the stamped address reply that you forgot to send. All things have a story to tell, and they're mute things, so the job of the poet is to give a voice to things which have no voice. So Trevor Millam's model for me was a winner, and I've used it with youngsters for years and years and years because it demonstrates to them you don't have to have grand thoughts about the spring to write a poem. You can begin with a bit of stuff that's in your pocket that you should have thrown away. Why didn't you throw it away? Why have you still got that bus ticket in your pocket?
Peter reveals his own I Am inspirations.
I am the bootlace, ragged and forlorn, the scorecard faded, creased and torn, the fragment of wood from a Flanders field which will a tale of deathly history yield, a leather key fob from a child long grown, the litter of no value, which is my own, which is not the most sophisticated of verse effusions, but I wrote it at the same time I was working with some Year 9s who were doing the same thing. It's an exercise in loosening your own trust in yourself and the ability of small objects to have significance. So that's why I love the Sad I Ams exercise. What have we got about ourselves? Would it be possible for you in 5 minutes to turn a Sad I Am out of 3 relics, objects, ignored and rejected? Normally when I do this with kids, I say, go outside and find something. And it's wonderful to see kids going out and picking up litter and coming back with litter to turn into poetry. OK, 5 minutes. Let's see what we get. You can have it as a Sad I Ams, and you emphasise the poignancy, the loss, the tragic history of something. But you can also use poetry as a way of transforming the universe. The same, objectively, the same object, if you want it, you can turn it into an object of delight and amazement. So I try to do a Sad I Ams and a Glad I Ams with the 4 objects which I had for that purpose.
I am a row of sloping weeping willows behind the shops, littered with fag ends which no one tends. Framing my outstretched talons lie the unforgiving shards of the distant mountains, shouting.
Oh, yes. There's some interesting things going on with word choices there, not just for meaning. You're playing with some echoes and rhymes, aren't you? OK, something from this table then, over here.
I am the rusty pair of horseshoes, the last you ever wore, the pristine show hat, our competition days, the cracked bucket that sustains you daily, my dear retired friend.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. That's so specific to an interest in a horse, and yet it has all of that stuff about affection, memory, incipient tragedy, respect at the end. God, that's rich stuff, isn't it? And I hope that those teachers on Friday will have gone away and done some Sad I Ams on their own at home, and will be encouraging their kids to do Sad I Ams, and will be sharing their Sad I Ams with the kids' Sad I Ams, and will be saying, after your Sad I Am, do a Glad I Am. Let's say that language allows us to make the world a better place, or a sadder place, or a more interesting place. And you start with rubbish. You can work upwards. You want to write poems about linnets and larks and nightingales? They're still there.